the grand jury prize winner out of South by Southwest's narrative feature competition. The Fallout is about a high schooler named Vada as she navigates the emotional fallout she experiences in the wake of a tragedy. The relationships with her family and friends and her views of the world are forever tested. This is a really interesting feature debut coming from Megan Park, who wrote and directed it. A fairly stunning and emotional movie, one that I think all three of us really, really appreciated. Art, what was your reaction to watching The Fallout?
I know this was one of the most hyped up ones from the fest. Like you said, it won the Grand Jury Prize. And I was very interested in it because Jenna Ortega has been having a run. She's the Disney Channel star who's like, you know what? I'm going to be on a season 2 of You. I'm going to be on just some of the craziest stuff. I believe she's got some other really big projects in the works as well following this one.
Yeah, she's also recently in Yes Day, which is a new Netflix release with Jennifer Garner.
Caught that one as well. So it's like she's still able to straddle the line of still being in like the family-friendly movies to, you know, something like season 2 of You. And I know it also had Maddie Ziegler. This is one that also was composed by Phineas, you know, the other half of Billie Eilish. So I know that it's one that's going to have a lot of attention on it. So then for it to also be good solidified it. I really enjoyed the perspective that Megan Parks brings to it. I've known her in a lot of like different roles that she's been in. Particular, she was in.
Yeah, she's primarily an actress, but she's done a lot of short films before this one. And this, as I mentioned, is her feature debut.
Secret Life of the American Teenager. That's why Shailene Woodley comes in, also plays a therapist in this. So it's really cool to see her come into becoming a full feature-length director, and I believe she wrote it as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I like how she captures the emotional turmoil that they go through. We were bringing up earlier how a lot of people are it's starting to become a little bit of a genre, which is kind of weird to say, but it is something that always happens. Obviously at Sundance we had Mass, and this isn't from the perspective of the parents, it's more so from the perspective of the kids and the fallout that they go through. But it still shows them living. It's not just like, it's they're going about it from a perspective where they're trying to, I guess, become political points. They're still trying to be teenagers,
Yeah. It's a mix of perspectives because for some people it becomes this sort of emotional catalyst for some kind of interchange, and some people it becomes this more action-based catalyst that inspires them to look outward. But I think it's a movie that's very honest in its reactions to what people experience in the wake of tragedy. Amanda, what was your response to this movie?
I just thought it did such a good job letting them still be teenagers, like as they're processing things. Because I feel like so many times, like adults try to write this kind of stuff, and it always follows like the same beats, and they're like, "Gotta be respectful about this and this and this." But this was literally it was letting teenagers, just go through things, not fully understand the things they're going through, and then reacting in the way that they do. Like, she's using a lot of humor to try to get through things, and anytime somebody tries to steer her back on a positive or like a serious note, she'll just kind of like back away from it.
Yep.
And anytime she's forced to try to like really address something, it pushes her to these like weird levels of honesty, but it's not even necessarily like a healthy honesty. It's just kind of like a reaction. And I do actually feel like it was handled with care, and you just saw so many like just different like perspectives from her family, the people around her, the unlikely connection she makes with somebody who was there with her when it was happening, and just all sorts of stuff like that. I just think it was handled really, really, really well for being so in the hands of the teenagers.
Yeah. It does really get you that youth perspective in a way that feels authentic. Not that I am a teenager anymore, but it feels of its generation, even like with TikTok dances going on in the background occasionally and stuff like that, but not a pandering way.
Nope.
or a way that makes you roll your eyes too much. It does kind of feel lived in, and it lets the kids sort of be bratty, impulsive teens at different points in this movie, which I appreciated. And you guys have mentioned the trauma a lot of in this movie, but there's so much that works outside of that as well. I think if you took away that kind of inciting incident, there still is a really solid coming of age story in this movie. It is given more resonance and greater power because of the package that it's contained in, but I think it speaks so authentically to that transitioning from childhood into adulthood mentality that it just works as a movie even without the larger elements at play.
Even with the little sister, when you guys were talking about, you know, seeing the differences between what she's going through as a teenager, how the little sister perceives everything completely different, but also how she's a product of living in a world where now her sister has been a part of that incident that you see on your phone as you're scrolling through TikTok and videos are being made, as, you know, the news or whatever's going on social media. And then also the differences between Julie Bowen, who has one of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion, when they finally, you know, climax in terms of a conversation that they've been building up towards. I thought that was fantastically done. But as Amanda said, it's these three people who didn't really talk to each other forming a relationship after this incident. And kind of that back and forth of like, you want to be there for them, but they also kind of remind you of what had happened, and then the guilt that comes with it, while at the same time, it being a really good coming of age story that I would expect from someone who did a lot of seasons of playing a teenager as well. So, no, I was very surprised with this one. I'm glad it delivered.
I'm hoping that this is a movie that resonates with people. I'm not sure what kind of audience it ultimately has. You know, it's
Universal Pictures, said Phineas.
Is it also already set up? Already set up at a studio?
Yeah, Universal Pictures picked it up. It's got a decent soundtrack in the back. Like I said, the composer's got a lot of leverage as well, I would say. So I think it's going to hit its target demographic very easily. Maddie may have not had great pick with her last movie, but the fans were there to watch it. They didn't like it. I think they'll be here for this one, and they'll definitely support it.
She
And
did
like
really
I said,
good.
she did a fantastic job.
She did really good. Yeah. Yeah, and
Maddie was great in this.
What I find is really interesting about some of those side characters is that I would have just as easily wanted and been able to watch a movie about their experience. Like that's how that's how good they felt, and that's how fleshed out they felt. So you still know
it is lived in.
Yeah, very lived in. You know their story just based on the interactions that we get with our main character, but it so easily could have followed anybody else, and it would have been just as interesting, just as impactful. Yeah, I think that's really a really special quality for a movie to have.
Yeah, and definitely a breakout role, as Art was mentioning, for Jenna Ortega. I think this is the kind of spotlight adult role or like transitionary role, is in a way. That's kind of like a Zendaya on Euphoria, introducing yourself to the
where people
world
know
as this actress.
Yeah, people know who you've been, but this is the one that's going to put you in the mainstream, and then it's going to get you all of these other crazy movies. And I think she's got a really good career ahead of her.
She's just heartbreaking in this movie. Made me cry more than once. Yeah. So it's an extremely powerful movie. I'm hoping it resonates with people. I would like it if this is the kind of movie that maybe ultimately gets like a Gotham Awards type of recognition. I don't think this is,
I see that,
going to be a huge kind of awards movie, but it is one of those indie darlings that I hope ultimately finds its audience, as we were talking about.